in this year's field here at the women's 5K. Let's run through all of our competitors. Rachel Carasone from Central Connecticut, they sub-18 time. Morgan McNaughton from St. Francis is running 18:37. Angela Cavallari from Wagner, a 19:15. Central Connecticut's Isabella Jensen without a time. We talked about, though, just because you don't have a time does not mean that you are not going to have a chance to potentially win this event.
Exactly, yep.
Tess Helms from St. Francis, also sub-18 to 17:56. Isabel Mondo comes in with no time from CCSU. Anna Quackenbush, she's been around the NEC for a little while now. 17:46 her time out of St. Francis. Kate Connolly also with no time from Wagner. D'Souza Vera from Stonehill comes in with a 19:16 time. Sydney Khalil from Stonehill with a 19:24. Riley Ferretti, that top time so far in the conference, a 17:10. Rosemary Gatos without a time from St. Francis, and Juliana Cancelleri from Central Connecticut has that 17:22. And Elizabeth Zambell with a 17:51. Underway in the 5K.
Top returner in this field, Teslyn Helms. Helms finished third last year in this event. Cancelleri finished fourth.
Angie, you ran a lot of different events throughout your career. Was the 5K your favorite? Where did those events line up?
Yeah, the 5,000 meters is always a fun race. I loved the longer distance races. But really, I think the 5,000 meters during the cross-country season is always a fun one. But during the indoor season and in the outdoor season, the 5,000 meters is one of the last races for us distance ladies. So it can be one of the toughest races because you already have a lot of miles under your belt, especially if you're running the 10,000 meters outdoors. But, there's nothing like getting on the indoor track, running 5,000 meters, surrounded by all of your friends and family and teammates.
I'd have to imagine, especially on an indoor track, a 200-meter track here, you're doing 5,000 meters, 25 laps.
Right.
It has to get a little repetitive out there.
It does. And, the biggest thing is just turning your mind off. And, someone like Cancelleri who is just allowing the person in front of her to do the work. That's the best possible situation that you want to put yourself in, especially in a championship season race.
Ferretti is in first. Cancelleri to follow.
And that
along with Carasone.
Yep, Carasone from Central Connecticut. 17:58 this season. Cancelleri and Carasone are trying to elevate Central Connecticut and the distance program that they have. Obviously, Central Connecticut graduated a lot of their seniors, their grad students. So, again, they want to lift their distance program back up, and they want to do that right now as they're running in second and third place.
And Ferretti, a newer athlete that we're seeing really start to thrive within the conference. I think that a lot of times, we sort of thought of Central Connecticut as that distance powerhouse. Andrew, you sort of led that. We saw Ashley Dana come through, and we saw so many other outstanding athletes. Brooke Morabito was a major player for CCSU, and as you mentioned, graduating a lot of key athletes, and now sort of seeing what's left. And Wagner's got Riley Ferretti here as one of the top current athletes, and seeing what Central Connecticut can do with Julia Cancelleri and Rebecca Carasone, and also up there with an opportunity to score some major points. I'd imagine at this point in the race, we're only a few laps in, you don't want to let yourself get too far behind.
No, I see a few Central athletes who are towards the back of the race right now, and obviously in the back of the race we're not scoring any points. So I'd like to see them move up a little bit, put themselves in contention of 9th, 10th position, so that way when moves are starting to be made, they're there, they're able to cover those moves. But Cancelleri right now and Carasone, they're in the position right now. I'd like to see Carasone just close the gap between her and Cancelleri. It's a lot easier when you have someone right in front of you who's able to help out. Ferretti right now has no problem leading the race. She's only done one 5K in the indoor season. She is a freshman for her indoor season. 17:10 is a very respectable time in your first 5K.
Now in first place, Ferretti remains in front. Appears as though Cancelleri is second. Now a little bit of room starts to open up between second and third. And of course, there's so much time that you don't want to let yourself feel as though, I got to make a move now. But then it's balancing that and this idea of, okay, if I fall behind by 20 meters, 50 meters, this is all distance I have to make up later.
Right. And, I always say this, the 5,000 meters on an indoor track is such a vulnerable race. You're out there for so long and obviously in front of so many people for that long. And, you want to make sure things can continue to stay well. You're putting yourself in those best possible situations. Otherwise, it can be a very tough situation if you're halfway through the race and things start to hurt early on.
That's for sure. No question about it. Is get close to about a third of the way through this event. Lap 6 out of 25. Around a quarter of the way through. Again, the times that these athletes are shooting for, low 17s are their best times. So it gives you an idea of where they want to be and what they're trying to score here. And I think that at some point, though, low 17s may be important, but I think winning the event is than it was sort of the energy. I think that when we were discussing earlier, is that you really worked on when you were in that championship run. And of course, you go up to you in a fast race when it comes to scoring as many points as you can. Is sort of the goal at championships.
Yeah, and that's the culture at Central Connecticut. That's the culture at Wagner. They are focused on the team aspect during championship weekend. They're worried about late place. They're not worried about running fast times. Obviously, it's amazing to see what Jordan Malloy has done. She's not only able to score some points for her team, but able to break those NEC records. But that's not necessarily the culture that Wagner and Central Connecticut have notoriously been known for, right? They just want to do as little as possible to be able to score those points for their team. And I've done very similar over my years when I was competing, and it's always a great thing when you're able to be a part of a program like that. And what's awesome to see about Wagner is a relatively young program on the women's side. Obviously, for Reddy, she's a freshman for the indoor season. But you have someone like Cancelleri who's a senior, right? So, an athlete who will be done at the end of this indoor season. So,
and just an update on where things stand. Ferretti, as you mentioned moments ago, still in first place, followed by Cancelleri, and now third place has switched hands. Zambell from Wagner has jumped into third, followed by 3 St. Francis athletes.
I believe that's Teslin Helms, who's right behind Zambell.
Helms there with Quackenbush. The pack running, of course, can be so important. Rosemary Gatos also there. Morgan McNaughton a little further back in that next, sort of running on her own there. And that can be, I'd imagine, incredibly tough when you're not as part of the pack in this 5K and you really start to run your own race.
Yeah, to be in no man's land is pretty difficult, right? And also, to be leading the race is also a very difficult position as well, because you're doing all the work knowing that you have someone just tucked in right behind you. But I'm not too worried about Ferretti, right? She comes in with the confidence of a 17:10, the fastest time this season. They're not on 17:10 pace. So this is definitely a comfortable rhythm for her. And, as we see them lapping the first few athletes now.
Here's out of the 25 laps. It appears that was lap number 12, I believe. We're trying to get the official. Well, we don't really get an idea of that until they hit the bell lap. So it can be a little while before they actually officially announce that.
You're going to turn down, you'll have 12 and a half laps to go.
Appears as though they're right around 17 and a half as that they hit the halfway point here with right around 8:45.
Right.
Should put them right around 17:30. So we'll see how they hold up. And then things start to get a little unclear as oftentimes is what lap who's on.
Yeah, it's important for our officials to make sure they're keeping track of the athletes who are going to be being lapped, but it's also important for the athlete to know where they are in the race, how many laps they've done. That way we don't see anything crazy happen where athletes are miscounting laps and finishing early. And we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but I want to just talk a little bit about the lapping, right? And if you're leading the race, you're have someone right behind you passing these lapped runners. I always felt as a former athlete in the Northeast Conference, that was a great position to put myself in where I'm going to start opening a gap, because it's a little easier to just put in a little surge as you pass a lapped athlete, because it just throws off the rhythm of the race of the person behind you a little bit. But what we saw last night with Cancellieri, and we're kind of seeing it again, is she's responding to these moves that Ferretti is putting. And that's exactly what you should be doing, right, in this race.
Ferretti still in first, followed by Cancellieri. And then Zambell and the three St. Francis athletes moving in tandem with each other. Now it's the three St. Francis athletes, Quackenbush, Helms, and Gatos, are 3, 4, and 5. Now in first, Ferretti. Cancellieri is in second. It'll be really interesting to see how they hold up. And now we see a pass up in front. Appears as though Cancellieri has passed Ferretti.
And this is awesome for her. I think one of the things, too, is Cancellieri is big on feedback. So I can imagine head coach Eric Blake's just told her to go to the front, start taking this out now. But Ferretti's responding to her.
Very clearly picking up the pace. Ferretti is behind her.
And Ferretti is okay with this, right? She knows what a 17:10 pace feels like. Cancellieri has a slower personal best from her, right? She comes into the weekend with 17:22.
It is very interesting to see the way that they are making the move around each other and the move that Cancellieri has made. And this is going to be interesting. So this is
an important move right here. So the gap is opening a little bit. But Ferretti, I like where she is. She's responding to it.
And that gap has opened up a little bit. And I think Ferretti's sort of in the point where, look, there are probably 6 minutes remaining in this race, so there's a lot of time, still over a mile to go.
Absolutely.
And you don't want to expend yourself too quickly, because you could find in 5 minutes' time one of these two athletes is going to start to fade a little bit, and that could be a lot bigger of a difference than the 5 or 10 meters that separates them for now.
Yeah, and we've seen in years past, Brooke Morabito, myself, we've waited very late in the race to just close. Usually it's in the last 800 meters of the race. This is so brave for Cancellieri to go before even one more mile to go, right? So she's taking this, she's just going with the confidence that she got from the 3K last night, and she's not questioning it. And that's the most important thing that you can do in a race like this. I love how relaxed she looks. You can see the determination on her face. She's opening the gap even more.
That should be within a mile. But a lot of time still remaining. And that gap is really growing between Cancellieri and Ferretti.
It's really awesome to see this. Cancellieri in the 2023 season, she was 13th in the 3,000 meters. She was 6th last year in the 5K. So can she win this title this year? I mean, I'd like to think so. She's really opening the gap. She looks amazing right now. She just needs to keep that laser focus on. She's watching. She's checking in with her coach. She's getting the feedback. What's the gap behind her?
Seems to be doing just fine. No signs of fading at this point, but still, you probably have about 4 minutes to go, maybe 4.5 to go. In a championship race. Cancelleri still in first.
And Cancelleri is also in a good position because she knows that there's a gap behind her, but she still needs to be cautious of that, right? Ferretti, she can close well. So if I'm Cancelleri, I'm putting a target on the laps, on lapping more people because it's just something to chase in front of you. And really, she's doing exactly that.
The course record here is a 16:50, or the meet record, I should very much specify, is a 16:58. So we'll have to see where Cancelleri sort of works her way in there. Her previous record is a 17:22. It's hard to tell exactly where she stands with regard to that number, though.
Yeah, I don't think she'll get close to sub 17 minutes. I mean, I would say around 17:10, 17:20, 17:30 range. That has notoriously won as well. But, she's not making this a slow pace by any means. I'd say the gap is still pretty much the same for Ferretti. 3 to go for Cancelleri and Ferretti. Ferretti's coming up on the finish line area now.
You're looking at it right around 40 seconds per lap. That would find you right around low 17s.
Right. So Cancelleri, she just needs to continue to grow on this gap. I want to say it might be closing a little bit. She's coming up on 400 meters to go.
The gap is seemingly tightening. Question, what do they have left in the tank? Cancelleri and Ferretti. And Ferretti at the 400-meter mark makes her move back into first place.
So I would say it's around a 9-second lead, 9 to 10-second lead that Cancelleri has.
Beg your pardon on that one. That is correct. Still about a 9-second lead. The lap runner is getting getting me a little confused there. But yes, Cancelleri still in first place.
Coming on 1 to go for Cancelleri. Ferretti, she's coming up on her bell lap now. I'd like to say that Cancelleri can hold her off. I mean, this is a lot of ground that Ferretti needs to make up.
And now here comes Cancelleri down that backstretch. Final 100 meters.
So this will be close to a lifetime best for Cancelleri. She's just got to keep her head up.
Final 50. Won't quite be a meet record, but it is the 2025 title. A 17:10 for Juliana Cancelleri. Ferretti comes in second with a 17:16. St. Francis has their 3 athletes about 100 meters out.
One just finishing now. We'll get who that is in a moment. It looks like that was Quackenbush from St. Francis, finishing in 17:32. And Cancelleri, we just got to talk about her a little bit more. That is a lifetime best for her. She came in with a 17:22. She ran 17:10.
I mean, how impressive was it that she made the move there right around a mile and a half into this event, and with so much time to go, and saying, all right, it's my turn to take the lead now.
Yeah, and I love races like that when you have athletes who share the lead, right? Ferretti, she led a lot of that race, but Cancelleri also led a little bit more of that race, and then she was in no man's land for a little bit. So she was brave, she ran with such heart, and it's just so amazing to see, right? She finished 6th last year, and yeah, she's probably thrilled right now.
Cancelleri to the top of the NEC in the distance world, a 17:10. And for Ferretti, a second-place finish is still incredibly impressive.
Absolutely. As a freshman, I think that's amazing that she's able to do that.
And we'll see what comes from here, but certainly a strong performance from Ferretti as just a freshman. 3 more years where we can see those times continue to tick down. You may see a record from her in the next couple of years. But for today, it's Cancelleri and her 17:10. Keeps Central Connecticut atop the distance world.
Absolutely. Absolutely.